All right, guys, I am super excited that you are here tonight. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our Wellness Wednesday. I'm so grateful for the people that invited you to be here tonight and for those of you who continue to show up and want to grow your education. I will quickly introduce myself. My name is Jamie Williams. I live in Hastings, Nebraska. I know I saw we had one other person from Nebraska on. So we had a beautiful sunny day here. I am a super busy mom to four. My kids are 9, 7, got a new 7-year-old, and twin 2.5-year-old. So if you hear any chaos in the background, don't worry, Dad's in charge out there. So I'm expecting that to happen. But my background, guys, I worked as an exercise specialist in cardiac and pulmonary rehab at our hospital here for 13 years. And to be honest, that is where my introduction into biohacking and learning more about how we can optimize our health, that is really where my experience came from. I was lucky enough to take care of a young patient who became a very dear friend. And my eyes were wide open, and I just knew that I had to learn more about how I could do better for my own health and how I could do better for my family. So I am so, so grateful for the education that you're going to get here tonight, because I know Dr. Nancy Bryan, and she not only is beautiful on the outside, but you guys, she's a beautiful human on the inside who is a wonderful, wonderful educator. But to kick this off, I want to introduce Eileen Whipple, who is from Arizona. You guys, I'm super grateful that I got to learn her story and that she's here to be able to pass that on and share with you. So Eileen, she is a mother to 3. And what I hear is a brand new grandma as of 22, 23 days. So congratulations. Days. What a blessing that is. But I want to introduce Eileen, and you guys, I want her to share really her health journey and why her eyes were wide open to how she could improve herself. So Eileen, welcome, and please take it away and share your story with everyone.
All right. Well, thank you, Jamie, and thank you everyone for being here tonight. I am excited to share this because I didn't know I could have a different ending. And basically 24 years ago, I had my 3rd baby, and 6 weeks after she was born, I started on a health roller coaster. I'd never really given notice to health before, but now it was in my face, and I had a 6-week-old, a 2-year-old, and a 4-year-old. This journey started, it was just ups and downs, and I spent my time not being the mom I wanted to be, because I wanted to be the fun mom who was traveling with her kids and volunteering at the school. Instead, I was the mom that was in the hospital, and the mom that was laying on the bed, and the mom that became dependent on her children at a very young age. So for 15 years, I actually searched out remedies. I did everything medical. I did everything natural that I thought could even help me. And I even, I changed my diet. I changed my environment. I detoxed my environment. I learned all about detoxing, and not only my environment, but my body. And nothing really gave me back quality of life. I was sustaining, and I was going through life, which was amazing, but it's still, on my up times, I had great anxiety and anticipation of, oh my gosh, what if this thing takes off my body and I end back up in the hospital? What if I trip while I'm out? There were so many things. And then in my down times, it was just really challenging emotionally. And besides the physical challenge, it really is the emotional challenge of feeling like a failure and feeling like there's no hope. And so after 15 years, I will be honest, I gave up. I said, there is no hope for me. This disease process is too big. I started too late. I've done too much damage. And so I consigned myself to a couch, and I consigned myself to living there and doing one task at a time, because that's all the energy I had. If I did one task and I laid back down for hours, I couldn't even accumulate my energy to do a big thing. And so 2 years later, that youngest baby that was born actually turned out to have cognitive challenges. And so she had challenges communicating and navigating life. And Dr. Brimhall, who has been my doctor for now 17, 18 years.
He's absolutely incredible.
Pardon?
He's absolutely incredible.
Yes, amen. And he's been my miracle in my life. He came across this Nrf2 activation for the brain. And so he wanted me to give the products to Nicole. Well, shortly after she started the products, and I started seeing amazing development in my daughter, I started on the products. And I have to be honest, I was like, oh my gosh, I have more energy. wow, I did 2 tasks. Wow, the kitchen is clean before I went to bed. That's weird. And I found myself doing things that I hadn't done in a long time. And I was thrilled. I did not know this would make a difference. And so one of the things that Nicole and I, we had our own bag of supplements. This is just a sample of what we used to take. She had her potion, I had mine, and we took it. It was an hour in the morning for my daughter and an hour at night just to take the herbs I had her on. And they're high quality. I wasn't doing chintzy stuff. And when we got introduced to Life Vantage, we went to this. And we have the same regimen. Who would think that we would have the same regimen? She has a couple of extra, I have a couple of extra, but our main stay is that regimen. And where I am today, I did not know would be a possibility. So November 2021 will be 7 years. And I was sharing with Jamie a little earlier, and I said, you know, Jamie, if I hadn't gotten better from 2 years in of being on these products, I would have been thrilled, absolutely thrilled. Where I am today blows my mind. And I truly believe, and I have experienced, the body does heal and repair. It does take a cumulative effect, right? Yes. And the body does heal and repair. And I am so grateful I get to be here and I get to share that with everybody and let people know that the body is truly a miracle.
Oh my gosh, Eileen, I absolutely love your story. I'm so glad you could share with us. I looking at that bag of stuff that you took before, which I know we talked about, was great stuff. But there's something different and magical about what you are on now, the regimen, the way that it works inside the body. And that's what Nancy's going to help share with us a little bit later. But tell me, what does life look like since you've been able to probably cut some expense, I'm assuming, with the size of the bag you had to what you're on now, but also just, I can tell in your vitality, I can tell in your excitement and the smile on your face how good you feel. So
thank you.
How different does life look now?
So actually, we went to 1/10 of the cost every month for what we were doing and switching. And we actually, I don't share this with everybody, but we were in debt because of everything I was trying just to stay cognizant and being able to stay at home. And just getting healthy, it's all gone. I used to spend my days planning out my doctor's appointments 1 to 3 times a week and then fighting with insurance companies.
Oh my goodness.
Then I had the kids on top of that. But, you know, it's just incredible. And I'm so blessed that the health can return.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You are so right. Your health. Earlier you said you can't put a cap on your health. And
yes,
you have absolutely been invested in yourself and trying to better your journey. And I'm so glad and grateful that you found it and that you're continuing to share your story with other people because you're making a difference. So Eileen, thank you. I love that story. Congrats to you and your daughter and your new grandbaby. So that's super exciting.
Oh, so may I just share one more quick thing?
Of course you can.
Get to Nancy. So if my daughter had had this baby 7 years ago, I would have had to been propped up on the couch with my arm to prop up the baby. And there's no way I would be able to hold her when she started moving or anything like that because I wouldn't have the muscle or the strength. The fact I get to hold that baby and I get to even stand up and walk around with her, which is what I did today. I was jiggling her while I was holding her. I'm just so grateful, so grateful.
Oh, you can tell in your heart and your voice. I'm so happy for you. You guys, I love when people can share their health journeys with other people because there's so many people that can relate to things and pain points that you've gone through and give people hope that things can get better. We just have to find the way. So you guys, I'm super, super excited. I feel so privileged and honored that I get to be part of this with Dr. Bryan. Nancy is incredible. She's a doctor of pharmacy. She's a biochemist. She's a breast cancer survivor. She is really the jack of all trades, and she is a brilliant, humble, beautiful woman. But excuse me, Nancy, I would love for you, because I know your background is quite extensive. I would love for you to introduce yourself fully and let people know who we're dealing with here and what your background is.
Well, thank you so much. I'm the one that's humbled and honored to be here. And when I hear stories like Eileen's, everyone's story matters. That's why I am here. There's lots of other places I could have been, mainly being retired would probably be one of them. But you know what? It's so important. The stories are so important because people do need that hope. And that's where I started my journey. When I was a little kid, I used to go out to the nursing homes 2 or 3 times a year as a little campfire girl. I don't know if you ever heard of what a campfire girl is. But we would go out to the nursing homes during the holidays, and I just would never get over how happy we made those people feel just showing up. And that kind of put in the back of my mind that, you know, I wanted to do something that made a difference from the time I was young. That brought me into pharmacy, and it was through that road that I have had tremendous numbers of kinds of experiences. I always tell everybody, I don't think there's a part of pharmacy I haven't touched. It doesn't matter if it was in hospital pharmacy, in retail, in consulting, every aspect of it I've been part of. I was actually one of the first female sales reps for Eli Lilly and Company. So I worked for a pharmaceutical company. I did lots of different areas. All of it's part of my journey in really trying to help figure out what makes the body work. And so for me, I had to go through my own personal journey. As you mentioned, I'm a breast cancer survivor. I'm also a melanoma survivor. I lost several people in my family to a wicked gene that I won't go into, but I was looking for hope too. And at the time that happened, I was the healthiest person I knew. I already was doing so many things already. And I think what I really, if I can get one thing across tonight, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but if I could get one thing across, what we have is really special. There is something different here. It is doing exactly what we talked about. Our bodies are miraculous, and finding things that are actually activating it to do its best part is really truly why I'm here, because that sets itself apart from all of the other things I did in the past.
Oh my gosh, you are a wealth of knowledge, and I have learned so much from you, but I love that your journey continues. Even to this day, you could be retired, but you continue to have this zest for learning more and sharing it with the world. So Nancy, I'm so glad that you're here to be an educator for us all. But you guys, tonight our topic is really about detoxing our bodies and how we can optimize our health by being aware, you know, mindfulness to our environment around us, the things that we're using topically, putting inside of our body, and how we can best give ourselves the best chance to function at our highest potential. So Nancy, I want you to kind of explain why are you finding that people are chronically ill, and how does our environment around us, the toxic load around us, how does that affect that?
Well, first and foremost, there's so many things in our body that are meant to detoxify us. We detoxify every single day. Our bodies are continually working at that, especially at nighttime. It's so important at nighttime when you hear people talk about sleeping. The biggest time that we repair, which means detoxifying, is during the evening while we're sleeping in deep sleep. And so I think a couple of the different reasons why we are seeing so many different disease states today, and how the bodies are breaking down earlier and earlier, by the way. We have younger and younger people that are sicker and sicker. And it's not even how long we live, it's the amount of healthy time frame that we have is diminishing. People are getting ill sooner. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're overwhelming it with so many things from the outside. Our body is meant to detoxify in different ways. We have our skin that helps us sweat things out. We have our organs that help detoxify, but we are overwhelming it. And you know what? I'll go as far to say so much of the electronics today play a part in that as well, because especially over the last few years, more and more of us are in front of screens all the time. And all of these things matter. And so it's the foods we eat. It's hard to get clean foods. And then don't forget, probably one of the biggest culprits is our emotions. Our emotions, I think emotionally, that can be exponentially more damaging in terms of creating toxins in our bodies. So there's lots of different things that are really adding up more and more today.
I'm so glad you brought up the point. I mean, we could go on and on about this, but when you're talking about people getting sicker younger, my field in cardiac rehab, I had patients who were younger than I was at the time. And that was alarming to me. And a lot of it is lifestyle, but a lot of it are things that we really do have control over. So it's important for us to, gain that education and mindfulness on the things that are in our control that we can do to best protect ourselves and our longevity. So our environment, we know, is super toxic. The air quality around us, the foods that we eat, the processed things, that plays a huge role in it. But I want you to kind of talk us through, there's a lot of protocols, there's a lot of advice out there that we can go through on suggestions on how we detox our body. But what would you say people should be looking for on a daily routine that can be long-term? How we can detoxify?
Well, as I was saying, our bodies are equipped to detoxify us. We have our liver, which, most people do know and understand. The function of our liver is doing exactly that. It doesn't matter if it's a medication, alcohol, our food sources, all kinds of things that our liver is responsible for breaking down. We have our kidneys. Everything gets pulled through our kidneys as well. Our digestive tract is a huge thing. And many times people will hear my passion when I start talking about gut health, because we need to have proper nutrients and things coming into our body to help our body do the things it needs to do, but they have to be able to get in there. So yes, it's important to eat really good foods. Yes, it's important to have that exercise to activate things in our body that normally may not get activated without moving at a higher pace sometimes too. But what I like to talk to people about first and foremost is the importance and the ability of what goes on in our gut. And that really starts, it starts at the top, it starts in our mouth and it starts in our nose and it starts even in our eyes. All of those areas are things where things from the outside have the ability to come inside, correct?
Yes.
And so when I'm talking about somebody taking a look at what things that they can do, I get really, really passionate about taking a look at things like prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics, because those three things are the three legs of our overall health, our immune system as well, but our overall health from a perspective of keeping things out that shouldn't be in, signaling our body when things do get in that shouldn't be there, and then having the ability to take some of those things out that shouldn't be in there. And that all starts by having proper prebiotics, which are insoluble fibers, things like that, that feed our probiotics so they can do their work. Prebiotics also have a physicalness that helps grab up things and remove them. And then we also have to have postbiotics, things like fermented yeast, things that are going to help our probiotics create mucus. It's really important for our microbiomes to be able to do their job. And that mucus formation is our protection on the inside. It's what grabs up things like viruses and toxins and all kinds of things that shouldn't be there. And if the probiotics are working properly, they're putting that out. They're making sure that that's available. And not only that, but they're also helping with the signaling process. So those three things are really, really, truly important from a perspective of kind of a physicalness in terms of removing toxins.
You have such a beautiful way of explaining that. I'm so grateful that you can simplify that for us to understand. You guys, there's three different systems in our immune system, which is why it's so important that we take care of it, the pre, the post, and really doing everything that we can to strengthen our immune health. When we're talking about the toxic load around us, you guys, we're under daily assault, really, aren't we? We're under daily attack by the environment around us. So it's so important for us to optimize our gut health, because that's where our immune health lies, right? So thank you for clarifying that. Nancy, we've talked about this before, and how our bodies have its own innate pharmacy. They have an ability, a miraculous ability to heal and protect itself. So one of those things that I would like you to explain a little bit deeper is the role that glutathione plays. I don't know if a lot of people understand what that enzyme is in our body, but I know in the world around us that term has been thrown out a lot in recent times, and it's very, very important. So I would love for you to explain what glutathione is and why it's important.
Well, it's just, I think more and more you're hearing about it today. In fact, you're hearing about people going and even getting IVs of glutathione or taking products to boost their glutathione. The difficult part of glutathione in terms of actually trying to make more of it can be really challenging. What glutathione is going to do is it is what actually literally goes in. It's called from the liver to come out and to actually detoxify. That's what it actually is doing. It's going to take things out. It's going to break them down. It's going to help the body to rid itself of certain things and break them down into being less toxic than they are, so that our body can finish the job, if you will. The problem with glutathione that we have is that it is controlled by a biofeedback mechanism, and the body's going to dictate how it makes it. And the challenge can be, you can't put enough in an IV of it, and you certainly can't walk around with an IV in your arm all the time with it. The important task that we have is, what are things that we can do that our own body decides to corral this and make glutathione? And that is the Nrf2 pathway that we talk about so often. The Nrf2 pathway, that protein, what that signaling does in that system is it is the master regulator for the detoxification of our body. And what it does is it actually, our Nrf2 Synergizer product actually has been measured to increase our own glutathione by 300%. It doesn't raise it by giving us glutathione. It raises it because it enhances the body to start making it and understanding it needs to make it. So I think of it like when you go to the bank. You can only withdraw so much money out of the bank. If you don't have money in the account, you can't take it out. That's kind of how glutathione is. All right. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's really important when we talk about our Nrf2 Synergizer. It is one of the most important parts. It's one of the enzymes that gets upregulated along with superoxide dismutase and catalase. And basically, those are the detoxifiers of our cells. Now, why is that important on a cellular level? Because every part of our body is made up of different kinds of cells, but that process needs to happen in all of those cells to combat the damage that's happening there every day for lots of reasons. Some of it is just our own innate body working. When we have mitochondria and all of our cells take in food and oxygen, it has a byproduct. It naturally makes a free radical. So there's some made, and that's kind of the yin and the yang of the Nrf2 being created and turned on. And then that's the signaling in there that it's going to help turn on that glutathione process, because it's needed in the liver to help break down so many different components of when our body's trying to get rid of them.
That it blows me away every time you talk about it, because you're so eloquent in the way that you explain how powerful this really is. So I want to refer back to Eileen's story as she was showing that bag of a product that she used to take. And it was high-end things, but there's a difference that I want to make sure we make clear. There is supplementation and there is activation. They work entirely differently. So what Nancy's talking about, this is the product, I'm trying to find my camera. This is our little yellow pill, our little yellow activator. This is the Nrf2 activator. This is not supplementing our body. And as Nancy referenced, this is causing our body to help activate its natural process to detoxify and to turn up our antioxidant enzymes. It's a way that we are making our body do it instead of taking things. Taking supplements, we're activating our body's innate ability to make our own. It's a very, very different concept. So when you talk about this little yellow activator, would you agree that it's probably the most potent thing that we can do to aid in the detoxification of our body?
It absolutely is the key to it. And I think that one of the things that spurred so much research after the initial ABC investigative report came out was when lots of people, lots of scientists knew that this oxidative stress, this buildup of trash, the detoxification process, they knew that was the problem, but they've been trying to supplement and medicate through just pushing or trying to change all these little pathways, right? So when they saw in that ABC investigative report that it actually turned your blood back to that of a 20-year-old, the fact that it gave your body back the ability to activate itself to do the things it should do, that was something that really spurred a lot of research because they had never seen something that could actually activate. They had always seen large amounts of things. And one of the reasons so many pharmaceuticals became popular is back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, they knew there were a lot of nutrients and things that mattered, but nobody could make them consistent. Nobody could make them predictable because those plants and those parts came from all over the world. And there were different conditions like rain and storms and just getting to them. And we couldn't make them predictable. And medications, they could. So they had a medication to push things, but they didn't have things that were actually activating. And when they saw that, for me, one of the biggest questions I had when I saw that ABC video was, wow, that's amazing. But how on earth do they make sure that they get that same result over and over when we're talking about plant parts? Mm-hmm. For me, truly, that was the key, because if you're going to want to expect your body to activate and detoxify every day, that has to have a consistency, something predictable. And what I love is the answers that we got were because of biotechnology and the ability today to be able to do that kind of quality controls, that we control exactly the sweet spots of the ingredients we're bringing over and over. And we know before we make it, during the process of making it, and after, that we're getting the same thing with the same predictability. Now I can depend on that 40% in 30 days is what we can predict over and over with that pill for every person. And that was really, truly, I think, one of the things that spurred so much of our research.
That's unbelievable. The research is incredibly valuable. And I know someone with your expertise and all the years that you've been part of product formulation, and you know what it means to have solid quality control and what you know about the science that has come out about this, that you stand firm behind what this does to everyone. And that's why you're such a great advocate for activation. So I want to switch gears a little bit. I know this is how we can detoxify ourselves, but I know that a lot of people have asked questions about the Nrf2 activation for the brain health. How can we help detoxify our brain and give ourselves the best cognitive function? And we do have a drink that is an Nrf2 activator for the brain. And I'd love for you to talk about how Axio plays a role in detoxifying and supporting brain health.
Oh, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because, oh my gosh, yes, it's important for that little yellow pill. And you know what, to some degrees, it does even help with our brain function to an extent. But what I love about Axio is that that is its target. It is brain food. And a big part of that stems from the combinations that are in there, the B vitamins that are in there, the combinations of the things that we've put in there, the DMAE that's in there. Those are things that are that Nrf2 activation within our cells in our brain. And that's difficult to get to. Not everything crosses into our brain area. We have protections for that for a reason. And it's really exciting to be able to see a product like Axio make such an incredible difference in terms of how the cell signaling is occurring. And you know what? It's one thing to see all the science behind it, and I can go into all of that and bore all of you to death. But the thing that's important is one of the main reasons that I became active in this company, not just taking the products. I knew I needed to take them, and I started taking them. But I had a really dear friend who had a daughter with autism. And right in the middle of me starting taking the products or whatever, she had a crisis. And I will tell you, I didn't know what our products were going to be capable of, but I knew they weren't going to hurt her because of the tiny amounts. She was having some real struggles with her gut and with some other issues, and she was hurting herself. And this was a child that had been autistic, severely autistic, nonverbal for the most part, and she was in her 20s, early 20s. So we had already been doing lots of other things. But when Axio was introduced to her, it was a whole nother level, and you could see the activation of her brain cells actually starting to communicate together. And if you could see pictures of her before and you see pictures of her now, just the pictures are just unbelievable. But more importantly, today, she's helping her mom with an organic garden. She's saying things sometimes they wish she wouldn't say. She is definitely still autistic, but I will tell you the communication, it changed. And when I saw that light bulb go on in her, then I knew I had a moral obligation. I now knew this was something I had to talk about, because that didn't just change her, it changed their whole family. It changed all the families around them. And we're going on to change many, many other families, because you know what? Detoxification has to happen in our brain too. We all have brain fog. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how I'd be on here tonight after the day I had talking without Axio. I really don't. I mean, it just really is one thing to say and tell you the stories. But if you really understood the science behind it and that Nrf2 activation and how important it is for our cells to function, that Nrf2 pathway, it's the master regulator, not, something that just, pushes something. It's a regulator. That means it goes on and off the way it's supposed to, the way our body's supposed to. And that's what we see with Axio. And I love that, because you know what? Everybody loves their energy drinks or their coffee, but everybody knows what happens. You go way up and then you crash. And we don't see that with this, because there is the biofeedback, the balancing of the chemistry of the cell with Axio.
Oh my gosh, I'm having one right now, because I needed one too myself, Nancy. So I'm with you on that. I know that it's so powerful. But you guys, I love that you share that story, because it's really telling the truth of what can happen when people literally flip the switch and unlock their potential. This does something different inside of the body. So Nancy, I want you to just quickly talk about, I thought I had one here, but I want you to quickly talk about this combo. Okay, the little yellow activator and the brain food Nrf2 activator. How important are these two, and how effective are these two together?
Well, to me, I know people come to me all the time because we have a lot of products. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people think, oh, well, you know what? We had our Nrf2 activator, our protandem synergizer, and everybody's like, well, they did really well with that. So they're just making all these other products. You need to know and understand the heart that goes into why we have the products that we've developed. It's because the depth of the science of the people we have in our company is incredible, understanding the overall health of our body from the cell out, okay? So we're talking about that Nrf2 activation in every cell. It matters throughout your whole body. Here's one example I like to use. Think about a red blood cell, or think about a cell that lives 120 days, because each of our cells, depending on what kind they are, have different lifespans. But think about it going through 120 days, and as things are happening to it and building up toxins, building up all kinds of things happening, it gets all beat up and banged up. And if you see it under a microscope, you'd know what I'm talking about. It literally starts looking kind of gnarly. And at the end of that time frame, the genetic material comes out of it, and the body makes a new one, okay? But it doesn't make a brand new one. It makes a photocopy of what it left, okay? So if it left this banged up old gnarly thing, the next cell isn't much better than that when it's starting. And then it's going to proceed from there. I've just described aging and disease.
Yes, you did.
That's what happens. Now picture our Nrf2 product, 40% in 30 days. Over that 120 days, you're going to start seeing that cell much better. So by the time that thing finishes and it gets a picture of it made, it's a little better. And when Eileen was talking about it adding up over time and how it's cumulative and our bodies get stronger, that is why that time frame, it happens over and over. So picture that with our Nrf2 synergizer. That is making sure that the blueprint of the cell function stays intact. Read our website, read under the words. That's what you're going to read. That's what the FDA allows us to say. That's so impressive. The blueprint of the cell function. Okay, so that's what the Nrf2 activation does. And then the energizer, you know what, when you add in the DMAE and the Nrf2 activation in your brain, it's not energy in the regular term, it's brain energy, so that you're not feeling down, you're not feeling tired. It's actual energy that's being developed. And that too, like that Nrf2 in all of our cells, that is happening inside of our brain cells. And so they're staying intact and doing their function. And that's why together they become so powerful. And you can really feel the difference. With that, we know that we're going to have our best gene optimization of what each of those cells are supposed to do. And that's why I get really excited about that combination.
It's incredible. But there is a great question here, Nancy. Before we close, I'd love to address it. Someone asked if you would address why Nrf2 activation works in animals, in mammals.
You know what? It's mammals in general. You know, it's just mammals in general. And that's why, you know what, when we did some of our early studies in animals and the things that we saw, that's, you know what, when we did our pet tandem study that was done in Arizona, by the way, it was supposed to be a blinded, double blinded, like nobody knew who had what. The first week of the study, they had to throw that part out because they could tell which pets were getting the product. It was that obvious that quick. Now in animals, it works faster, right? You know, that 7 years to 1 year thing with the dogs. And that's on average. Some dogs, it's a little longer, some shorter based on breeds and all that. But the bottom line is the reason that the Nrf2 works in animals is for the very same reason. They have that same mitochondrial function, that same Nrf2 activation that is going on with them cellularly in all mammals.
It's incredible. Even if people could get started with their dog stories, it's incredible. But thank you for clarifying that we have that same detoxification system. So you guys, I appreciate everyone's time here. I hope that you learned something. Nancy, you are such a wealth of knowledge, and you have a way of making people understand. And I love that you do that.
There's
such a great job.
There's one more thing I want to talk about real quick, because I'm not sure people are understanding the value of it. We have a new product that came out this year, Daily Wellness. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think a lot of people took a look at that product and they'd been seeing in the press and in the news and all the different places things they were supposed to take. And then I think sometimes they look at what we have and think, oh, well, they just put one of those out there for a Me Too kind of, yeah, we got to have it. Well, let me tell you, I want to explain something really quick. When Bryan Dixon and I are sitting together at a table and somebody asks us, what are the 3 most important things you can be doing? If this is all people can do, Bryan and I have the same answer every time. And it's Nrf2, Axio, because those are your Nrf2 activations, and Daily Wellness. That's next. And I'll tell you why. When we talked about those 3 things, the mucus formation in the gut and the whole lining, you also have to have cell signaling. There are minerals and elements that help with that cell signaling. When the stuff gets stuck in that mucus, you got to be able to relay it back to our bones and to our gut for our immune system to function. That's what things like zinc and the C are in there doing. And then you know what? Then we have to have the army come out and something has to bring that out. That's what the D is in there for. The D is going to be the you know what, the general going, hey, come on, let's go. We got to go. And a lot of people don't understand, if you don't have proper zinc and the right kind of zinc in right ratios, you need 140 times more vitamin D. That's why we're so deficient in D. All right. So we didn't make this product just to throw another one out there. We made it so that you don't have to take all those different bottles that each contain tons of excipients when they're on a shelf from the grocery store or wherever they're coming from. And instead of buying each one of those with all the extra stuff that's in there, you've got it all in one tub that you can stick in the scoop, throw it in with your Axio. And you know what? You keep all those check boxes of things you're supposed to have right now to help protect yourself. Guess what? You've got those covered. And the idea is that our body wants food. It wants good food. Mm-hmm. And when you're taking those all together as a unit, our body is taking it in as that. And I've had many, many, many people get back to me and tell me when they started on Daily Wellness, even while they were on our other products for quite some time, how much better those products are working now. And they're feeling the difference, a big difference. And I do believe it is partially with the ability for that mucus lining to be formed again. And the elderberry that's in there does have some spectacular things going on as well. But I just would be remiss if I didn't talk about that, because when we talk about detoxification, that is one of the prime ways that we can do that, is helping our body function at its best. And that's going to be the true best detoxification.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Nancy. I love our Daily Wellness, and I love that the products that LifeVantage brings out are backed by science, and that they're all based on synergy. The way that these products work, they work in synergy, and it heightens the effectiveness of them. And when you can combine them and help your cells detox, help your brain function better, help your gut optimally function, it's a home run. You just nailed the home run. So you guys, if you are unfamiliar with these products, I would highly encourage you to get educated on them. There's a way to customize based on your need. There's a way to customize the things that would be best suited for you. But like Nancy says, this is the most potent Nrf2 activator on the planet. It is incredibly important for your longevity. And I love that the fact that it works the same in a 20-year-old as it does in the 80-year-old. The science backs that. So if you like, guys, there's an Activate plus Energy Stack, and it's these two. Okay, it's the Nrf2 activator and the Axio Brain Fuel drink. So if that's something that interests you as a baseline to get started, I absolutely encourage you to get back to the person that invited you. And if you have more questions, get back to the person that invited you. So again, guys, thank you for spending your Wednesday with us. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you want to pay that knowledge forward to someone else and bless someone else's story, because you just never know who's looking, who's praying for something to help them. So Nancy, thank you for your time, for your knowledge, and for all of you for joining. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you.